I think in this moment, when people say, oh, we're better than this. No, we are this. The question is, do we want to be better than this?
Yes. Yes.
Can we be better than this? And I believe we can. And if we didn't learn it in Trump point one, here's Trump 2.0. What are we going to do in this present moment?
Welcome to At Our Table. Today's conversation is with a woman who has quietly and steadily made history her entire life. She's a public servant shaped by community, faith, and resilience. A member of Congress who earned respect across the aisle. And now the United States Senator representing Delaware. At a moment when our democracy, our values, and our future are all being tested. Her election marked a first for her state and something even bigger for our country. She's not only the first woman elected to the U.S. Senate from Delaware, but the first person of color. For the first time in American history, 2 Black women are serving concurrently in the United States Senate. That's not just symbolic, it's consequential. But titles alone don't tell her story. She's known deep personal loss. She's navigated grief while continuing to serve. And she's done it with a grace that reminds us that leadership isn't just about power, it's about purpose. At a time when people are questioning institutions, questioning politics, and questioning whether Washington can still work for them, her voice brings steadiness and hope. Today's guest is the junior senator from Delaware, Senator Lisa Blunt Rochester. Senator, I am honored to have you pull up a seat at our table.
Thank you, Jamie. It's such a pleasure to be with you in this venue, any venue. It's always good to see you, and I'm looking forward to our conversation at the table.
Same here. And again, happy birthday, my friend, my fellow Aquarian. And also happy Black History Month. And we're about to get into Women's History Month as well. And this episode may air right at the cusp between Black History and Women's History Month. So and you fill both boxes. You are living Black history and also women history as well.
Let me say I have a couple of months that are really, really busy. Black History Month, Women's History Month, and then Juneteenth is off the charts. But yeah.
That's exactly right. You know, as we start this conversation, what does it feel like to know that you're now one of those Black history sheroes we used to learn about every February as children?
Wow. Well, first of all, I said that kind of facetiously about, the busyness of those months. But when I think back to the history of this country and even my state, I think it's really important that I be there for young people, that I be there for that person who maybe thought I could never run, or that I be there for women, which we've never, as you said, we never had a woman elected to the House or the Senate in my state, or a person of color. And so I take that responsibility seriously. And for me, I always say it's not about making history. It is about making an impact on people's lives. And so, sometimes I use the analogy. I'm sure if Harriet Tubman were on the Underground Railroad, she wouldn't be taking selfies. Like, it's not, it's about the work, it's about the impact. And so it is truly an honor and a blessing, and very humbling when like a kid comes up to me and says, I did my school project on you, or when I get, someone who has been widowed like me saying, I was in a diner in the middle of my state, and a woman came up to me and said, you got up, so I got up, and I'm back. And even those kinds of things, I think, make a difference. And then there's just the American history of it. It is amazing to me. And I don't know if you thought about this, but Carol Moseley Braun was the first Black woman senator. It took a quarter of a century to get to Kamala Harris. There were no Black women. And then from our Vice President, Kamala Harris, to LaFonza Butler, it took almost a decade. When I ran along my sister Senator Angela Also Brooks, and we came in immediately after LaFonza and 2 of us for the first time in the history of this country. And so, there's something about our shared experiences and our different experiences, that have helped bond us and, I think help us to represent in ways that maybe haven't been represented before, and do it, with someone who I could look across the table and we don't even have to talk. We literally can just give the eye, like like, it's not even a spoken word. We can read each other, and I'm really grateful because, again, this is about making a difference on issues like maternal mortality
Mhm.
or on issues of, jobs and the economy, on issues that affect small businesses, that affect all of our communities. So, it's not lost on me that, it's an important moment, but I also get why I'm here.
Well
I know the mission.
well, I love that aspect, and you're also serving. I mean, right now there are a total of 5 African Americans in the United States Senate. It's Senator Angela Also Brooks, Senator Reverend Raphael Warnock, Senator Cory Booker, and Senator Tim Scott from South Carolina. But particularly on the Democratic side, the 4 of you, is there a moment at one of those Senate caucus lunches or something when the 4 of you just have that nonverbal communication that we that we have? We're like, "Okay."
The great thing is, we sit at different tables sometimes in our caucus meetings, and, you know, sometimes you don't even have to say words or look at each other. It's like because there are things that, like when Corey gets up and talks about just the historic nature of where we are as a country and the fact that there have only been a little over 2,000 senators total
Yeah.
in the history of the country, and that we are on a mission, right now, and it is important to, again, have just the beautiful diversity of a caucus that we have, and, even our freshman class, I mean, I love our freshman class. It's Angela and I, but we also have Adam Schiff, we have Alyssa Slotkin, we have Ruben Gallego, and we have
Andy
Andy.
Kim? Yeah.
And it spans from having little kids to me as a grandmother, it spans from just demographic, geographic, and I think we bring, something new as well to the caucus. So it's an important time, and I'm grateful to be here.
It
And don't forget, I came in the first time in the House under Donald Trump
yeah.
in the minority. And so this is like Donald 2.0 on steroids that we're witnessing. Yeah. So
Well, I wanna spend a little time talking about how you grew up. Now, I heard that you were a dancer. So were you an athlete growing up?
nope, nope, Jamie. I did not excel as an athlete. My dad did. My
Your
dad,
dad
he was
did, yeah.
big house games in North Carolina, Winston-Salem State University, approached by the Harlem Globetrotters and asked to
Wow.
be an Olympic. My dad was an athlete. I'm a dancer. If anybody who knows me, I started with ballet. Well, actually, I started with the Jackson 5, but I studied ballet, growing up, and even to this day, like, I'm a member of the Beehive. I love to dance, and I've learned some lessons from dance that I even apply to this very work. So,
Well
I'm the dancer.
well, tell us about some of the lessons that you've learned from dance and how it applies to serving in the US Senate.
I know. See, people might not think about it, but I think it really applies to this moment. Sometimes I'll carry my toe shoes with me, and I might be giving a speech to like teenagers or even an adult group, and I will say that there are lessons that I learned from dance. One is that uh, a lot of people want to be the soloist. They want to do the solo performance, but when you look, even I just went to the Avenelli dance,
Mhm.
troupe the other day,
Yeah.
and the ensemble is more beautiful. When they do Revelations,
Oh.
it is the ensemble. And so my point being, democracy is a team sport. We need everybody to be engaged, involved, and play their part. You don't have to run for office if that's not what you do. But I always say, my best friend Michelle, when I ran that first time, I had been going through a lot and it was hard. I had never run before. And she was like, look, girl, you losing weight. I can't give you $1,000, but I can make pots of spaghetti. I can make beef stew. Did her part. This moment is an ensemble moment. It is a team moment. We're all hands on deck. Second lesson I learned from ballet is that when you graduate to those toe shoes, your feet hurt. It is painful. This moment can feel very draining, very painful.
Mm.
And I always say, if you don't want jacked up feet, take care of your feet. In other words, in this moment, for our mental, our physical, and our spiritual energy, we got to take care of ourselves
Yes.
and take care of each other. And that might mean different things to different people, from prayer and meditation to music, to whatever it is that will keep you going, finding a ray of sunshine that will keep you going in this moment. And then the third lesson is, people always wonder, how is it that ballerinas, when they spin and do a pirouette, why is it that they don't fall? It's because they pick a spot on the wall, just one spot, and they literally turn and they just keep their eyes on that spot.
Mm.
In other words, keep your eyes on the prize.
Yeah.
There are a lot of distractions out there, especially people trying to distract us as Democrats. Look over here, look over there. No, we got to keep our eyes on the prize. And for me, I know that there are things that are the prize. Um, and I've had neighborhoods in towns in my state where there was not clean drinking water. And I'm not talking the 1930s or 40s. I'm talking now.
Mm-hmm.
And to be able to bring that clean drinking water and work with those communities or environmental justice communities, that's keeping my eyes on the prize. To help that small business to stay afloat or make sure that we have jobs in Delaware, that's eyes on the prize. To make sure that people have affordable housing. And all of these things, to me, relate to love. Like, when you love somebody, you don't want to see them unhoused. You don't want to see them wondering, where's my next paycheck coming from? You want there to be a planet. And so for me, it is about keeping our eyes on the prize. And for some people, they might not understand, or care about the word democracy, but the ability to have the power to vote and exercise your voice, especially now when people are trying to take it, we got to keep our eyes on the prize. That is another lesson I learned from dance.
It's so important. So, so important. And you talk about love here and the importance of folks who are important in your life, and I know that's family. But you've experienced some deep personal loss in your journey to the U.S. Senate. How did those experiences shape your sense of purpose and service?
Well, there are two people that I lost on this journey. Um, One was the love of my life. My husband is a guy I met later in life. I had been in a 20-year marriage, a lot of ups and downs, a lot of challenges, but two beautiful children came out of that marriage. But around 2003, I ended up meeting this guy who I heard about from a lot of people. All of our best friends were the same people. We were at the same university like 25 years earlier and didn't meet.
Mm.
But when it was time, we met. He was just incredible, brilliant engineer. He was working in Shanghai, China, and he came home for a Christmas holiday. We had one incredible date, one powerful kiss, and then we just started writing to each other and got to know who each other was. And we ended up, after a year and a half of long distance relationship, I like the Beyonce song, I fell in love, I quit my job, and I moved to China, and we got married. And I was with the love of my life, incredible, mega sci-fi, incredible, and brilliant brother. And then, Charles, we moved back to the States, and he went on a business trip, played a game of basketball before his meetings and ruptured his Achilles
Mm.
tendon, and blood clots went to his heart and lungs, and, at the age of 52, the love of my life passed away. And I will tell you, when you lose someone that close to you,
Yeah.
it really does, it changes you, and, for me, I wasn't sure what I was gonna do next with my life. I had served in different capacities in Delaware as our Secretary of Labor. I had, been the CEO of the Urban League. I had, done things in my life, but I was at a standstill, and, it was literally seeing I was just on autopilot, and I saw a dad in the supermarket in front of me with 3 kids put back grapes because they were $9. And
Mm.
I was like, "I'm gonna be okay."
Yeah.
Charles left everything, in order. Um, I had love, I had a home, but they were calling my city of Wilmington murder town because of gun violence. Um, I I I realized I had nothing to lose and everything to give, and I decided, having never run for anything, I'm gonna run for Congress. And this work, as hard and as challenging as it is, has brought my joy back
Yeah.
to be of service in this moment. And, um, when Charles was on his deathbed, I asked God. I'm a person of faith. I was mad, I was sad, I was all of those things, and when I said, "Why?" And clearly it came to me that we are here to love and to be loved, and that's what he did, and that's what I try to do in the work that I do. And more recently, in my, journey to the Senate, the person who shaped my, love of, community, my love of service and public service was my dad, who I mentioned was this incredible
Mhm.
athlete, but he also was an educator for over 30 years in the education system. He also was, a city councilman and president of city council in the city of Wilmington, where I grew up, and my dad was just this incredible, um, for me, powerhouse.
Yep.
And, um, he ended up, unexpectedly contracting a form of leukemia, and within 6 months, my dad, passed away as I was on the journey to the Senate. And I will tell you, I feel him with me each and every day. I actually feel his presence now more, and I call him my superpower,
Mhm.
you know? Like, what would Ted Blunt do?
Yep.
My newsletter, my videos are, "Let me be blunt," because that to me is also a homage to him, and I just, have been really blessed, and that fuels me, that especially in this moment for such a time as this. So I I use that lesson to say, even on January 6th, when I was trapped up in the gallery, I've only gone viral once in my life, and it was on January 6th, and it was for praying because Val Demings grabbed my arm and I grabbed hers, and she said, "Lisa, there's only one that can get us out of this." And I said, "You know what? You're right." And I just decided to pray. And the first thing out of my mouth was that all things work together for the good. I think in this moment, when people say, "Oh, we're better than this." No, we are this. The question is, do we wanna be better than this?
Yes. Yes.
Can we be better than this? And I believe we can, and if we didn't learn it in Trump point 1, here's Trump 2.0. What are we gonna do in this present moment to be what we aspire to be what the ideals on those pieces of paper were, the Declaration and, the Constitution. The 250th anniversary of this country is coming up, and we are at an inflection point. And I believe that we We have the power if we don't give up, if we don't give in, if we press on. So that's what I'm doing right here in the Senate.
I absolutely love that, and I mean, your spirit and your commitment, and I know you are channeling those that you have lost, and they are the fuel that pushes you. You know, same thing with I said something recently about my grandma. My grandma passed away last year on Good Friday, but she and my grandfather were with me every single day. I mean, every motivation, and the reason why this podcast is called At Our Table is in homage to them. But they are my motivation along with, my kids now and my wife, and it's what move us forward. And
I was gonna say, this is my granddaughter. Let's I keep her with me too. I'm like, this is the motivation for moving forward,
yes, yeah.
Our children, our grandchildren. So yeah,
So
truly.
when you walk onto that Senate floor, what are your top priorities right now? What is the thing that you are really focused on that you want to deliver for the people of Delaware, but for the people of this nation?
Yeah. Well, I think it kind of starts with, we as leaders, what is our responsibility? And first is to listen to our constituents and seek to understand what folks are going through. And
Mhm.
so I try to listen so that I can understand what the mission is. And for me, some of the issues that have come up both in my state but nationally are things like housing affordability
Mm.
and availability. It was the first policy agenda I put out was focused on housing, the first bill I put out, and now 3 of my bills are in the Senate bipartisan version of the Road to Housing, and 3 of my bills 2 of my first, bills are the first 2 in the Republican package on the House side as well, because we are seeing this across the board that used to be the median age that somebody bought a home was like 20, now it's 40.
Yeah.
People can't pay their rents. So for me, housing is a priority. Healthcare has historically been a priority for me as Deputy Secretary of Health and Social Services, but also as somebody like everybody else who's experienced the issues surrounding the high cost, and also the fact that we've got so many different health professional shortages. Like I have a nursing workforce shortage bill. I've got bills on maternal mortality. To me, healthcare, if you don't have your health, it stops so much for us, and it's connected to the environment as well. And then the big other issue for me is jobs. I started a bipartisan future of work caucus when I was in the House. I have many bills that are focused on things like, what is going to be the impact of AI and displacing people in the workforce. How do we prepare? How do we have guardrails? And at the same time, how do we find the opportunities? And so I always say if I had another middle name, it'd be Lisa Blunt Jobs Rochester, because it is about jobs, 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 and people living their purpose. So those are some of the things that are priorities for me because, again, I'm listening. I understand the assignment. Then we got to execute on those things and show real results and the impact. And I believe that's why you're seeing wins for Democrats
Yes.
from Mamdani to the members I served with, like Mikey Sherrill and Abigail Spanberger, because they understand you got to hear what your constituents want. You got to deliver on those things. And if we do that, I believe we will be successful. It's also one of the reasons I'm a vice chair of the DS
And
because I want to win back the Senate.
and that
We
is
know
Lisa,
this, you
you're
know?
reading my mind because that was my next point. That's one of the jobs that you have. You are vice chair of the DSCC for folks, that's a Democratic Senate Campaign Committee, and they are in charge of working with our candidates running for the U.S. Senate this cycle in this midterm. So tell us from your vantage point, what should Democrats be excited about this year in this midterms, and what candidates and races are you particularly really leaning in on that you want to focus in on that you think can help us get back the majority?
Yeah, well, first of all, I have to say as a incoming freshman, it was exciting for me to win, but when I got the call, to say congratulations, from Leader Schumer, I was like, "Thank you, but what do we have to do to win back the Senate?" And then I got a job. So I am now one of the 3 vice chairs. Kirsten Gillibrand is the chair, and we got myself, Adam Schiff, and Mark Kelly are the 3
Oh,
vice
that's
chairs.
great.
And then I chair the Women's Senate Network as well. And again, the goal was, how do we win in the fall? And, and I wear the multiple hats of the vice chair, and then on the official side, I am on 4 A-level committees, and I wanna say those just so people know our team is working on. We're on the Housing, Banking, and Urban Affairs Committee. We're on the Commerce, Science, and Transportation Committee. I'm on the Environment and Public Works Committee, and I'm on the Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee. So,
Wow.
again, all issues that people care about. And
Yes,
so
exactly.
so that dovetails into us winning. And so for me, there is when I first said yes to this, um, the map to victory was a little fuzzy. It has now come clearly into focus with the incredible candidates that have stepped up. We have some seats that we've got to hold on to. We have to hold on to 13 seats. Our Republican colleagues have 22 that they've got to hold on to.
Mhm.
Probably the most challenging race in that is, Georgia with John
Georgia.
Ossoff,
Yep.
but he's running an incredible campaign. I think back to listening and getting the vision and mission of what people want, he is communicating that well, because that's the other piece is communication, which is why what you're doing is so, so important in this moment. So Georgia is one that we're really gonna be working hard to hold on to. But then we have an opportunity to pick up, and we need 4. We just need we need 4 good, strong pickups. And so we've got, in North Carolina, we got Senator Roy Cooper, who has already known it's a purplish state, but Democrats and Republicans have voted for him. Tom Tillis decided not to run. We got a great candidate. So that's North Carolina.
We're gonna
Ohio
pick that one up. We are going to pick that one up.
feel it. I
Yeah.
feel it. Ohio, Sherrod Brown has stepped up and said, he will put his hat back in the ring. And so working really hard to make sure that he is back here in the Senate, and that's Ohio. We have candidates in Maine as well that for Collins, this is probably the weakest that
Mhm.
she's been, and particularly on a lot of really hard votes. And then, we've also, I'm like trying to make sure I get all of my states in. Okay, North Carolina, Ohio, Alaska, a new pickup for us with Mary Peltola, who has already, similar to me, has already run statewide as a House member and has hit the ground running. I mean, we've got some incredible, strong candidates that are pickups. And then we got like people like Scott Cohen from Mississippi.
Mississippi. Yeah.
I love this race. I'm working hard with Scott as well. It's funny because Benny Thompson told me about him, and I heard that he is running for the seat against the person who stopped his confirmation as a judge.
Wow.
And Cindy Hyde-Smith. And so he is, again, a great opportunity. And then if you just look across the country, then we have states that are historically and traditionally blue that have incredible, like, superstars. Like, we have a bench of incredible Democrats, whether it's in Minnesota, whether it's in Michigan, whether it's in Texas. Like, I can see all of these places I believe we're gonna hold onto those seats or even flip some of those seats, but it really does take all of us. I mean, like,
Yeah.
I'm back to the dance,
Yeah.
like, each of us playing our part in this moment, and my sister Marla, who Marla always says it takes 4 Vs, it takes the voice. We need to hear from people. We need to hear their issues. We need their wisdom. We need their if they've got some skills or talents, we need your voice. We need volunteers. that's always the case because
Yep.
we can't do this alone. We need votes. Vote, vote, vote. And one of the areas we're looking at here too, as part of the DS, is voter protection because we know
So important.
all that we're seeing, all this chaos and confusion, ultimately is going to get to our elections at the midterms. And then the last thing, Marla would say is we need money. And I know money doesn't start with a V, but without it, you can't have it. So, that's it.
Well, Lisa, there's a little historical tidbit. So I was the executive director for the House Dems in 2006. And I remember that night clearly because, going into that election, all of the newspapers were writing the obituary of the Democratic Party coming off the '04 election loss to George W. Bush. And then we pulled this together. Took the House back that night, but we didn't know we were going to take the Senate back until the next day. And that is when they eventually called it, and it was a U.S. Senate race in Alaska.
Really?
And Mark Begich in Alaska. And when I look back at '06 and I look at where we are now in 2026, the similarities are uncanny. They're uncanny. And I believe not only will we take back the House, but you all have put together such a great recruitment class for the U.S. Senate. I do believe we have a strong path to get back to the majority in the U.S. Senate as well.
I do too. And I think the great thing is that we have those historical markers, and we're also saying, you know what? These are different times. And
Yeah.
so even our caucus, under the leadership of Cory Booker and Tina Smith, along with Amy Klobuchar, are like making sure that we're amplifying our voices and amplifying the message in non-traditional ways. And I think that's the other thing that we have got to remember. And that's why I will put an extra special plug and plea for young folks. Um, number one, that those of us a little bit more seasoned with a little bit of gray in here, like,
I just shaved mine off.
yeah, yeah, right, right. Be open, um, and also for young folks to engage and be empowered because I think it takes that wisdom and that seasoning as well as the participation of all of us. So again, I always want to bring that to the fore as well.
Well, listen, I got a few more quick questions, and I know you need to get to the floor. You got to
Yeah,
do
they
your
told me
votes.
I got
Yeah,
3 minutes according to my
yeah,
people, but
yeah.
you do
So
what you can in 3 minutes.
I'm gonna go quick. But one of the things that we do on this podcast, we give out a special award. It's called the Sit Your Ass Down Award. And our guest gets to nominate a person or concept or a group of folks who they want to present this. And basically, it's the Get Yourself Together Award. Just think of it
Yeah.
in that way. Who would you present this week's Sit Your Ass Down Award to?
Oh, this is a good one because I just watched the Super Bowl,
Yes.
most of it. But I would dedicate it to all of the haters of Bad Bunny who were probably also the haters of Kendrick Lamar. All of y'all need to just sit down. Just take several seats. Take several seats.
A whole
Yeah.
stadium. They can get a whole stadium. I agree. I
Yes.
thought Bad Bunny was even though I don't speak
Phenom
Spanish, just the imagery
Look,
was fantastic.
um, and I got down this rabbit hole of understanding the specifics of why
Yes,
he was in different like, these were real people, real icons that he had, and it was a lot of nuance
it
in that,
was.
and look, I've lived and traveled and worked in over 30 countries and studied Spanish in high school 1,000 years ago. I didn't understand half of it, but I got it,
Yes.
and to me, if you didn't get it, sit down.
Well, and presenting that Grammy to Liam was just it was so heartfelt. It was so heartfelt.
Yeah, that and they say that because a lot of people thought that was actually him,
Yes.
but it was representation of both him, but also the young, you know, young Bad Bunny.
Yes.
young Benito. So it was
Yeah, exactly
it was
right.
just beautiful. It was beautiful.
The last part, and I'll let you do this briefly, and I know you have to go, but I can't have a senator from Delaware on without talking about President Biden and his legacy. What is something that you have learned from watching President Biden over the years lead and govern that has stayed with you and continues to resonate as you walk onto the floor of the United States Senate today?
A lot of times I would call him the comforter in chief. I mentioned both the passing of my husband and my dad, and I don't even know how that, like, when Charles passed away, he found me in the hospital and, called and talked to me about, the things that he says to so many families who are mourning. And then he was there for my family, with my dad. Before dad passed, while we were going through it, and after. And I think seeing him over the years, when people see him, it reminds me of the Maya quote that people won't remember what you said, they won't remember what you did. All they'll remember is how you made them feel.
Mm,
And every single person that he comes in contact with feels seen and special. And I that is a thing that I think is important, for all of us, especially in a time like this. And so, I do believe history will show, the work that he has done, and I pray that he and his family are able to have peace,
yeah.
because this is a truly, truly challenging time. And so we thank him for his service, and thank him for his example.
Well, Senator, maybe it's a common trait of senators from Delaware, but the way that you make people feel is also extremely special. And so, I thank you for your service. I thank you for your leadership. I thank you for what you do and how you are fighting for all of us every single day. But most importantly, thank you for being at our table. We really, really
Thank,
appreciate it.
thank you, Jamie, for everything, and thank you for inviting me to the table.
Yes, yes. Well, it's good seeing you. Good
Next
luck
time,
on
can
that
you put some
Senate floor.
collard greens or something on top of it? That would be nice. Would have loved some food on the table, but
Oh,
that's okay.
next time, when we
Next
get you back here to
time.
South Carolina, we'll
Sounds
fry
good.
up something. S-
Thank you.
Senator,
Bye.
thank you so much. If you enjoyed today's show, please be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Follow us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, or anywhere you find your podcasts. To be the first to know who will be at our table next, be sure to subscribe to our Substack on jamieharrison.substack.com. At Our Table with Jamie Harrison is a production of Vision Blue Media. Our founding executive producers are Jason Hyder and Jamie Harrison. Our producer is Kyle Kelly. Our content consultants are Ernie Grigg and Clay Middleton. Our digital communications are led by Lauren Brown. Ines Smolansky provides production legal. Title sequence by Tom Hunt. Our theme song, Blonde Gone, is written by Dewey and published by Alibi Music Library. This episode was recorded at As Told by Studio in Columbia, South Carolina, and engineered by Bill Grant. Special thanks to Senator Lisa Blunt Rochester and her team. I'm Jamie Harrison, and I look forward to another conversation at our table.